What's up everyone, and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with the MMA community goes off on Dana White over UFC 300. Over the past few years, there have been repeated calls for the UFC to book Jim Miller a fight at UFC 300, given that he has remained active while many of his peers retire. Given that Miller is the only fighter on the roster to have competed at UFC 100 and UFC 200, it feels only right that he compete on the historic UFC 300 card in April. After Miller's recent win over Jesse Butler in June, the expectation was that the UFC would look to book him for a UFC 300 fight in April. This week, however, it was announced that Miller would be fighting Gabriel Benitez in January, meaning he would be in for a quick turnaround if he wants to fight in April. Although Miller has wanted to stay active, fans took to social media to rip Dana White and the UFC for the careless booking, with one fan writing, "We really want to see Jim Miller at UFC 300 just as much as we want to see Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, Max Holloway, etc." Another wrote, "If Jim Miller isn't on UFC 300, my disappointment with UFC matchmaking will be immeasurable." One fan captured the general sentiment among fans, writing, "I swear on everything that is holy, if Jim Miller isn't on the main card of UFC 300, we riot." As Damon Martin pointed out, the news isn't entirely surprising. "I know Jim wants to fight at UFC 300, but he's consistently told me he wanted to fight again before that, so here we go." As another member of the MMA community pointed out, "I think Miller said before he feels better than ever, and with getting in his 40s, I think he wants to stay active. If nothing bad happens, he can likely still fight at UFC 300. Another one reacted to the news, writing, "If this fight somehow prevents Jim Miller from fighting at UFC 300, we riot." From the looks of things, Miller will have around 3 months between his clash with Benitez and UFC 300, meaning that he could still very well make history on the card. Next up, let's take a look at Sean Strickland altercation with footage. When Sean Strickland saw a man in his driveway on his ring security cameras, he didn't hesitate to leap into action like he had been waiting for such an occasion. Footage from the night shows a man running along the sidewalk before falling down and taking cover between two of Strickland's cars. The footage then cuts to the doorbell camera and shows Strickland exiting the house before confronting the man. The middleweight champ shed light on the situation on Instagram, writing, "Checked my ring last night and thought he was stealing my car or trying to break in. What would you have done? I need full coverage on my truck, lol. Also, really nice guy." In a follow-up, Strickland explained the situation, writing, "So he was being chased by security. The story was that he hit his sister, took off, shredded his tire, and his vehicle got disabled and went on foot. He said none of that happened. LMAO. Security waited for the cops for 2 hours, then let him go. I want to post the rest, but I want to blur his face. LOL." So far, Strickland has yet to release more footage from the incident. However, he did share a photo of the man's destroyed tire on his Instagram story. The champ is, of course, gearing up for his highly anticipated return to the octagon next year, when he'll look to defend his title and defeat Dricus du Plessis. Sean Strickland releases more footage to his home altercation. Next, let's take a look at Joe Rogan reacts to Tony Ferguson footage. Former interim lightweight champion Tony Ferguson recently made headlines for his training with retired Navy SEAL David Goggins. While Ferguson was praised by Goggins for being the only person to finish his Hell Week, many fans have criticized the situation given that Ferguson's toughness has never been in question. At this stage of his career, many members of the MMA community, including Ferguson's peers, believe that El Cucuy needs to be working smarter, not harder. During a recent episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, the longtime UFC commentator spoke about the situation.
There's a lot of very mixed reviews about whether or not that would be a good thing or a bad thing for him. Look, clearly when the two of them are training together, Dave is not struggling at all, and Tony is struggling. So there is definitely some ground to gain when it comes to endurance.
Yeah. Or endurance and mental strength.
Yes. Yeah. But endurance. It just Tony's, Dave is not even tired.
Ahead of the fight, Ferguson has also notably reached a plea deal in his DUI case from back in May. According to the latest development, El Cucuy has agreed not to consume alcohol and has also agreed to repay the victim whose vehicle he damaged in the accident. In addition, he'll also serve 1 year probation. In exchange, the charges against the former interim lightweight champ have been dismissed. Now, let's shift gears and take a look at UFC updates. As we look ahead to the highly anticipated UFC Fight Night Austin card this weekend, let's take a look at some UFC updates, starting with more developments regarding the withdrawal of Azamat Murzakanov. This week, UFC CEO Dana White broke news that Murzakanov had been forced out of the card, and in his place, Anthony Lionheart Smith would be stepping in on short notice to fight Khalil Rountree Jr. In addition, Murzakanov's coach, Murat Keshtov, wrote about the situation via social media, explaining that despite the situation, Murzakanov was hoping that the fight could be postponed by 2 weeks. However, given the 2-month medical suspension handed to his fighter, that was not possible. He wrote, "Well, what can we say? This camp was really going well for Azamat, and this is the best shape he's been in so far in his career, and he was ready to go. But a few days ago, out of nowhere, he got a very high fever which he tried to fight off, but it was relentless, indicating that something more serious was going on. Eventually, we ended up going to the emergency room, where he was diagnosed with pneumonia and mononucleosis." At the end of his message, Keshtov wrote that their team is hoping Murzakanov can fight again in late February or early March. Shifting gears, we have some news regarding the highly anticipated return of Peter Yan, who spoke in an interview with Extra MMA to discuss his future amid a 3-fight skid. From the sounds of things, Yan is eager to return at UFC 299 in March against a top 10 opponent as he looks to get back to the win column. "I should try to modernize my training camp in some way, my coaching team, change something, implement something new, correct some things. I'll try to make that happen so you can see some changes in the future. It's people, it's sparring partners, coaching staff, it's team that's the most important thing. The new coaching team needs to be formed rather. The team I'll be preparing with that will be there with me at the arena, etc." While Yan continues to wait for information from the UFC regarding what his next fight will be, it's clear that despite the recent string of losses, he is eager to climb the 135-pound ladder once more. Next, let's take a look at Sean Strickland and Mike Perry go back and forth. While Sean Strickland and Mike Perry would seem like natural friends, given the outspoken nature of the two men, Perry took aim at the middleweight champ in a video for social media where he impersonated the oftentimes controversial videos Strickland takes while driving.
What's up, guys? It's Sean Strickland here, and when I'm not being a total badass in the cage doing the man dance, I'm talking on social media about other people and their beliefs and relationships and religions and stuff. USA, baby, all the way.
Strickland responded in the comments writing, "LMAO, I got a lot of people to punch, but this man is on the top of the list. Guy cracks me up." Perry, of course, has previously called for a fight with Strickland, tagging UFC CEO Dana White in a tweet over the summer where he wrote, "Me and Sean Strickland should bare knuckle box, show us the money, and make it happen," while tagging Dana White and BKFC. While Strickland is gearing up for a highly anticipated title defense against Dricus du Plessis, Perry is preparing for what many are calling the biggest fight of his career on December 2nd, when he faces off against Eddie Alvarez at BKFC 56. Next up, let's take a look at Sean O'Malley gets called out by Bantamweight champion. The 135-pound division is widely considered to be one of the most stacked in all of MMA. Just looking at the UFC's roster alone, it's clear that the talent at 135 pounds is no joke. On the heels of the PFL Bellator acquisition, Patchy Mix feels as though he's the best bantamweight in the world. Full stop. After dispatching of Sergio Pettis at Bellator 301, Mix spoke with TMZ Sports, proclaiming himself as the best 135-pounder in the world.
I believe deep down, full-heartedly, my heart of hearts, I believe I actually know I am the best bantamweight in the world. 100%, man. 150%. 1,000%. I don't think I just take them. I think I finish them, I don't think it's just... I'm a finisher. I'm the best finisher at bantamweight. And my record speaks for itself. 19-1, 15 finishes. I finished, I think, 13 or 14 out of my last 15 wins. It speaks for itself. So, I could finish anybody in the world.
In regard to a potential fight with Sean O'Malley, Mix believes that in addition to physically matching up well with the UFC champ, he's also confident that he can strike with O'Malley in a potential matchup. When asked how a potential fight between he and O'Malley could play out, Mix dropped a major prediction.
I think I could finish him within 2.5 rounds. I don't think he really would have much for me.
While PFL founder Don Davis agrees, it's unlikely that we ever see the two compete against one another. Next, let's take a look at Conor McGregor releases new training footage. Conor McGregor has continued to work his way back into shape ahead of his return to the octagon. Although the date for his return has remained unclear, the former champ is getting back into the flow of things in Dubai. On the heels of watching fellow Irish star Katie Taylor pick up a big victory over Chantel Cameron at the 3 Arena in Dublin, New training footage of McGregor has surfaced courtesy of the McAfee. In the footage, McGregor could be seen working on his books, as well as his counter shots off slips. The footage was quick to catch the attention of fans, many of whom analyzed McGregor's stance, given that there have been calls for the Irish star to return to his karate style rather than the new boxing stance he's adopted. While it's remained unclear when the former two-division champ will return to action, the expectation among fans is that he will be back in action at UFC 300, despite Dana White previously indicating that McGregor could be out until the summer. As we continue to wait for news on his return, clips of training footage are likely to continue to capture the attention of fans. Irish police are now reportedly investigating Conor McGregor for his social media posts as part of an inquiry into the dissemination of online hate speech. Conor tweeted saying, "The Irish government makes me ashamed to be Irish. We are appalled with you all. You can't fix this. No problem. It is a war then. And God is with us." Followed by a few tweets about the Irish government and how it is ran. We can't go into too much detail due to the YouTube policies, but apparently they didn't like what Conor was tweeting, and they have sent a team out to investigate Conor McGregor. This means charges could be coming to Conor very soon. Will this further delay Conor's return to the octagon? Only time will tell. Make sure to leave a comment and you might get featured in our next video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to never miss any MMA news. Check out our video from yesterday if you missed it. See you tomorrow.